Vas has alluded to the fact that it's the penultimate Grand Tour, and I'm saying it isn't.
We've confirmed that it kind of probably is. I mean, look, what we decided years ago, and we'll talk about this at length later this year, because I'll be on here talking about it, I'm sure. Above all else, we wanted to land this thing at a time, in a place, and in a manner of our choosing. That was absolutely key to us. And we realised that, 15 years ago, when it first got carried away and became big, it was like, well, we didn't take off on purpose. This just happened. We set out to make a car show and it grew into something we didn't expect. So when the time comes to stop, we want to be the ones to say, stop.
Yeah.
Rather than any one of us, for instance, get us massively fired, or one of us die in a crash, or any other way of it ending.
Yeah, well, you've given that a go, it didn't work.
We've tried everything. We've tried to stop it in every way we can.
Can I just say something? Okay, as a fan, right? As a fan.
Go on.
I completely respect what you've just said about you wanting to be the arbiters of calling time. But please don't do it prematurely because you think it might be better that way. You have to carry on doing it for as long as it's okay to do that and is wanted, don't you?
I
Please
think we'll know. Listen, we'll have a big conversation about this when when the time's right. We can have a proper conversation. And actually, we could enjoy that because we can really get into it.
Okay.
Because we're all in the media. And we're all sharing with listeners and viewers our passion and what we're doing.
Yes.
And if we get it right, we create a place, don't we, that we're all in together. We're all in it right now, listening or sitting in here. And we've all been the beneficiaries of it working. And there's no science to that.
All right, Richard.
Morning.
Great intro, by the way.
That was a big one, that one. I liked it.
That was a cracker.
Yep.
Richard, before we get into what you do for a living, let's talk about Steve Wright.
Oh, no. Genuinely, it just took the ground out from under my feet when I heard that news, and the same for the whole nation. I think, and you said it this morning, he was so good at what he did that he sort of slipped into the national consciousness. He was just there.
Yeah.
And I don't think we realised what we had until it was taken away. Genuinely, it was a real national grief.
Oh, it was a body blow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were all shook to the core. Obviously, the news came out of nowhere. You were in Canada.
You're still emotional about it.
Oh,
now.
I can't. Don't.
I chatted to a few
started.
folk at the radio station where he worked last, and they were absolutely floored. And I think it's when he's taken away, then you realise what he was to us. And for me, he was summed up 2 words: joy and craft. Joy. He absolutely spread joy. Totally. I remember in '82. That's why I got into this business. Listening to him, Dave Doubledex and all of that in the after, it was just extraordinary.
He was your hero, wasn't he?
Oh, entirely. I mean, I absolutely worshipped him. In fact, when I got the call to go on his show.
Yeah, I know.
So years and years, it was like, that's actual Steve Wright on the other side of that glass.
I know. It's
and
crazy.
just also hearing his voice, that was the sound of, that's why I'm in this business. A similar moment when years and years later, so I was obviously no good at radio because I got
You were
canned.
quite good at radio.
Not really. I ended up in TV. It's where we go when we can't do radio, which is the final craft. And the first time I heard the Top Gear theme tune, it was, oh, brilliant. Oh, wait a minute, I'm on it. And it was the same with Steve Wright. I sat down and I heard, hang on, I'm on the show with him. I better think of something to say. He was just...
Did you learn anything from him?
Yeah, application. I said on the day we learned about 2 words, joy and craft. Joy, he spread joy, but he did it through craft. And he studied it, didn't he? There's stories of him hopping on the flights over to New York to sit in a hotel room listening to radio stations. It didn't happen by accident. It's application.
And I wrote yesterday in the paper about he called it the Big Show. Letterman called his show the Big Show as well. And Steve, I said that he couldn't have been more. The only way he could have been more American is if he'd have taken up arms and wrapped himself in the Stars and Stripes. But that was as further as he could have gone because he was so Americanized. He loved American popular culture. You've worked in America. I used to live in America, and I worked a bit in America. And because it's such a younger country, it has that irrepressibility of youth, even though, it's 400 or 500 years old as a nation, that we just don't have. And he brought that back, and he brought the the stature, the size, the optimism, the aspiration, the energy of a kid in a classroom, but then gave it he gave it the craftsmanship of a professional, but it had that sort of dualistic nature to it, and then at 2:00 every day it just exploded. Like, it was so un-British.
That's the key. It was shamelessly so.
Yeah.
So calling it the big show, starting every text with "I love the show."
Yeah.
But he managed all of that brash, outgoing confidence, but with amazing humility. I mean, he loved all of that, but he hated a compliment.
Oh, couldn't stand it.
But that's what makes it genuine.
Yeah.
In that he was doing that as a performance. The only parallel I can draw is motorsport.
Yeah.
In the US, they're absolutely shameless. Look, we want to race around in circles to see whether the blue car is faster than the red car. Who really cares? So we better put on a massive show.
Yeah.
So in them, I went to a NASCAR race, and it opened with, I kid you not, a semi driving around the track with these huge stars and stripes off the back of it.
Yeah.
And the fighter jet flyover, because they realised, okay, we better put on a really big show, because
Yeah.
people buy tickets to watch this, and that's what enables us to go racing. So let's make it massive. And kind of that's what Steve did with his radio show. People want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And therefore, I'm going to dial it up to 11.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, I was hoping I'd hear you this morning on about 8.
Sorry about
But
that.
you come straight off holiday on 11, haven't you?
Well, I came, and so emotionally charged as well.
Yeah.
The thing about the American thing, it's not dissimilar to what the Grand Tour is. You know, it's just a massive version of what other people have done in the past. You now do a massive version of what you used to do in the past, and that's the Willman kind of epic, kind of Ridley Scott-esqueness to it all. So that's Steve. We could talk about Steve forever.
Honestly, it's the sole reason I'm in this bit. In 1982, the Hammond family had their first holiday. We went abroad. Went to France. Used different money and everyone at the ferry. It was just the most amazing. It was the best year. It was really exciting. And we were picking up his radio show in Deauville, and we were on one of those 4-seater bicycles that you pedal along.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I used to impersonate all the people on his show, Double Decks, all of that lot. I was 12 and obsessed, and weirdly my mum dropped me a text on the day we heard about it and recalled that exact moment. And that was kind of the moment I ended up going into this business.
Well,
I'm
here
sure a
you
lot
are
of us did because of him.
Atop your very own mountain with your mates again. Richard Hammond, the Grand Tour, Sand Job. Did any other title get a look in?
Nope. That's honestly, we're great.
It was so funny, like straight away. Sand Job. Oh right, okay, we're in.
Okay,
we're in, everyone. Turn the lights off. Shut the door. We're in.
Do you know, a lot of the names, I don't want to give credit where it isn't due, but a lot of the names came from Amazon.
Right.
From their own team. And you know how you've done this for long enough to know, generally speaking, there's those of us on this side of it prancing about doing what we all do.
Yeah.
And then there's all the suits doing what they all do and just leave them to do it. The last thing you'd want from them is an idea or a contribution. That ain't going to work. They've come up with most of the titles. And they're phenomenal. They're really, really good.
Right. Why might it be called Sand Job?
Because there's a lot of sand. We're in Mauritania, which is built of sand. It's about 4 times the size of the UK, but with about 4 million people in it. It's empty. So hence the reference to sand.
Okay, so there's the famous rally, the Paris-Dakar rally.
Yes.
You do the fun bit without the boring bit at the top.
Yeah. We just did the last bit to Dakar. So we set out with, you'll know about this, and I don't want to bore you about cars, but Lamborghini are doing them, Porsche do one. They all do these like Dakar jacked up versions of supercars. So we open with, oh look, they're making these, but they're about $250,000.
A studio, like a car show.
It was really, exactly right. And then we said, I bet we can, as soon as we say the following words, I bet we can build one for less, well, that's not how it works, is it? And it didn't. So we took our own 3 impressive sports cars and jacked them up and turned them into Dakar races.
Right, now, just so everybody listening, we've all seen it, but I'll just act like we haven't. Which 3 cars did you end up with?
Jeremy was in a Jaguar F-Pace type, rather. James was in a Maserati and I was in an Aston Martin DB9 Volante. That was a mistake.
Well, it was a mistake, but it's fun. Is it? I mean, did your car break itself, then fix itself?
Well, now, you see, it's an interesting point. Yes. And no. It's from a time when cars were just getting clever.
Yeah.
And they were just starting to
Well, they were trying to be clever.
Yeah, they had a little tiny brain, and all its brain could do was reach out and go, hello, is there a gearbox? And the gearbox could go, yeah, I'm still here, mate. The brakes, yeah, we're still here. But then occasionally it would lose a connection. So is there a gearbox? Nothing.
Yeah.
The gearbox was there, but it wasn't telling its brain that it was there. So its brain, I haven't got a gearbox. And it had been given the power to sort of switch the gearbox off and say, well, you can't change gear then. But it's working. No, it's not. It's not talking to me. But it's there. So I fell out with it. I argued with that car all the way across Mauritania.
I mean, it's tailored to journeys, really, because there was your journey and then there was James's and Jeremy's, which was quite similar,
Yes.
but their car seemed to perform pretty well.
Yeah.
James's car ended up looking better than the original.
It did.
You seem to have vicariously designed the DBX,
Yes.
which
pretty
is
much.
now for sale.
Yeah, but I did it first.
Well done.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's okay. It says nothing.
And Jeremy has the F-Type, of course. Now, he gave it a bit of... Was it Lancia Stratos?
It did look a bit that way, didn't it?
it's
The
cool,
headlamps
man.
on the front.
It's super cool.
We're nerding. It's happening.
Yeah, no, we're
Oh, no,
nerding.
sorry.
We'll unnerd now. Let's unnerd.
Breathe it out. It's gone. Forget about that.
Let's talk about 3 signature shots from the show. There's the train shot. There's the desert eye shot. And then there's the Lawrence of Arabia ice cold beer shot.
Yes.
Speak to those, please.
You've just done it. There's those 3 shots. Basically, it's 3 old men who should know better, taking inappropriate cars across inappropriate territory, and there's 3 really good shots in it.
No, come on.
Well, do you know what I love? We have reached the point where we can serve it up, and that's what we want from that. We know what we want from that show.
Yeah.
So it was a real joy to be able to release our, let's be honest, massive crew out into the desert.
Was it massive?
Yeah,
Huge.
it's crazy. Yes, ridiculous.
Are they just so much more cinematic than they ever were before?
No, they're I suppose so. They're afforded the time to get the shots.
And do you have to go to places like the desert now so the crew don't get in shot because there's so many of
There's
them?
not room for us anywhere. You can't get a shot without a cameraman in it. Yeah, it is. We said about Craft with Steve Wright, didn't we? I mean, all due deference to Wilman, who you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the fourth Beatle.
There's the Craft.
Yeah.
And he is. That's what makes it. There's no doubt about it. And watching those guys and gals go to work, that's been the biggest privilege of the last 23 years. Building that team, which never comes together on that size.
Yeah.
Because TV shows don't generally have that much money to throw at the situation. So the size of that crew, it's and let's not forget, we're not staying in hotels and places where we were camping because there's no. I mean, it's quite a big campsite. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
of course it is.
Yeah.
It's not the one we see. It's not the 2 bell tents and the roof tent, is
yeah,
it?
we all share it. No, it's quite a big. It's like a travelling village that they set up for everybody. But it does mean that you get to see people crunching across the desert to the shower block in the morning that's temporarily put up. So we know each other pretty well.
Yeah, of course you do.
And
You know what each other smell like, I would imagine.
yeah, bad.
Yeah.
Bad. after
Oh,
all.
but there's the peeing sequence.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, yeah. But staying
Is it true you didn't pee for like 52
Oh man,
hours?
staying
or something?
hydrated there. It was about 1,000,000 degrees, and we've travelled enough to know hydration is important. Yeah, and so there's always somebody going, you must hydrate. But you can watch somebody pour a bottle of water into their face and just watch it steam off them. It just disappears because it's so hot, so you couldn't stay hydrated.
So that phrase, if you stay in show business long enough, it just becomes a peeing competition. You did that.
Actually did, yeah. Apart from it was just steam and bits of gravel.
Oh, there was steam everywhere.
Sorry, good morning
There was steam
anyway.
everywhere. There was sand everywhere.
Yeah.
There was barely any water until the last 20 minutes. Then there's nothing but water, which seemed to be quite dicey at the end. Anyway, so we've done the train, we've done the desert. We've all heard of the Bat Cave, but we haven't really. I hadn't heard of or witnessed the Bat Tunnel.
Bat Cave, I like what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tunnel going under the mountains. We encountered a mountain ridge that we couldn't get over. We
Yes,
found
you
the
did.
tunnel. And as we were going in, Jeremy pointed out there's bats. Yeah, bats. I like bats. They're great.
Can't mind bats.
They're nice.
Yeah.
But over there, they are credited with being a possible source of
Ebola
origination for Ebola.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to drive through the tunnel.
So you drove through the tunnel as fast as you could
Yeah.
to avoid the bats, not realising that at the other end there's a bit of a stoppage.
Yeah, there's a minefield. It was
An actual minefield.
Just one of those days. Yes, because it is a red zone. It's not long. Calm down.
Yeah.
A little bit. So there
So
was
Clarkson goes through first.
Yes.
Now, I think he had a heads up that maybe there was a barrier and a minefield sign there. Maybe he didn't, maybe he did, right? But you definitely didn't.
No.
Because you hurtled through that tunnel.
The idiot Brummie kept his right foot in a bit too long.
So they didn't
Not
tell
for
you?
the first time. No, I stopped and there it was. Yeah. It's quite a nice dilemma though, isn't it?
But I can tell the way, because the onboard camera, you hit that barrier so hard, you clearly didn't know it was there.
No, and I was in an Aston Martin. I wouldn't, even an old one, I wouldn't do that to it. It is in quite a state now.
Yeah.
I've got it home again.
Have you actually?
Yeah.
Because
It's ruined.
I mean,
Absolutely ruined.
We'll go all over the place, I suppose, as the show does. But towards the end, I love the fact that, you know, in the last sort of 10 minutes, you have these little sort of thought pieces individually in your separate cars.
Yes.
And you always do form a relationship with this car, and then Wilman puts the right music on and takes the right shots and really stirs up the whole thing. You know, you've been with these cars for a couple of weeks. We've been with you for 2 hours. But I was thinking, oh no, you can't all split up from your cars. Is that how it feels?
Yeah. I actually did a little video to myself on this one, where it was about 8 o'clock at night and had another couple of hours of driving. We can't film anymore, it's dark. We were just pressing on because, of course, we have to do the journey for real. We've got to get there.
Yeah.
It's not like the camera's cut and we all get in a helicopter and hop off to a hotel. We've got to get the cars to where we're camping.
And it's got to look like that.
Yeah, well, we've got to get the cars there.
Yeah.
So driving through the evening, and I did a little video on my telephone saying, this is, to me, this is a reminder of what it's like doing these trips. It's 8 o'clock. I've got at least another 2 hours if my car makes it. The gearbox is failing, the power steering is overheating. Yeah. When I get there, it'll be a bite to eat and my tent, and off I go. And this is my office, and I panned around. And the interior of the car, by the end of it, it's just, you've lived in it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's horrific.
But there's nothing like sand and heat, is there? There's nothing. I mean, you can water oil, whatever you want, wind, cold, rain, but sand and heat.
Yeah. It also, it never quite reads on screen. I think the team have done a good job of trying to portray it, but you can't see it.
You can't see heat.
No. We felt it.
Yeah, I know. How hot? I mean, it was 46 degrees on the thermometer. So I imagine in the cockpits of the cars, it was so much hotter than that.
Oh, yeah. It was proper hot. Plus, I had to run with my heating on for a little bit to try and
that
heat
was
away
so
from the engine.
funny.
Because it was... Well, the problem was, it didn't make the film in the end. We dropped it, but I'd put underbody protection on it.
Right.
But that meant there's a massive V12 with the bonnet on top and then metal underneath. So I was just cooking my own engine. It wasn't a brilliant...
Couple of aborted drag races.
Yeah, they didn't work. One of them was on what was supposed to be a disused runway, but it turned out to have cars on it.
Because it was in the centre.
It's in the centre
of a
town.
town.
Yeah.
A city, actually.
Yeah. And then the other one was interrupted when... If you haven't seen it, listening, this isn't going to make a lot of sense, but Jeremy had accidentally released a jet ski on its own into the desert. Not a jet ski.
Set it free.
A snowmobile. He'd freed a snowmobile into the desert, which subsequently caught up with us 2 days later and collided with a fuel bowser. That makes no sense, does it?
No, and it didn't make that much sense when I watched it, if I'm being really honest. But you've got to have the explosion for the trailer.
Well, exactly. We're having a bit of fun. I think we've hopefully we've earned the audience's indulgence.
So you were gagging for a beer, basically from the first minute to the last.
Yes.
And you came up with the ruse that going to a British embassy might be an idea. There might be free beer there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that hasn't been something you visited before.
Me too.
Have you?
No. But it was... actually, it was a tremendous embassy, and the ambassador was just the loveliest guy. Really, really welcoming. He offered us tea, which was a colossal disappointment because all I could think of was a gin and tonic.
Yeah, piping hot tea.
Yeah, but by then, because it's dry, Mauritania, so you couldn't drink, which wouldn't trouble you, but troubled me a little bit.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was a gin and tonic. I was worried that my body might just float away as dust because the molecular bonds had... All I could think about was a gin and tonic rather than holding myself together. And he offered us tea. It was bad. I'm being looked at. This is... Okay, stop looking at me like that, everybody.
We're just thinking, but we saw the tea on screen, but was there a cold beer to be had?
I'm certainly not.
In the director's cut.
Absolute professionalism.
If you know what I mean. Because, of course, James May's Amazon show is our man in wherever he's in.
Yeah.
And so he fancies the ambassador kind of vibe, doesn't he?
I suppose he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought, oh, hang on a minute, something's going on
Do you
here.
think he'd be any good as an
I
ambassador?
don't know, but I tell you what, because it's funny, the show's been on the air in one guise or another for years and years now, and, you know, we've seen you come and go as different people and, you know, various different aspects in your life. And I said on the radio, we all get the face we deserve, or we're supposed to by the age of 50. And you say a show gets the gut it deserves.
They did. Yes. Maybe. I mean, we are... There were a couple of nods to that in this one. When James couldn't hear me, I was trying to attract his attention.
That was so funny.
That's Wilman leaving that in.
You said, he's so old.
Yeah, but you can tell that's not... because you know how we make a show like that. It's just sort of, right, we're doing this bit now, guys. We're going to go in the water. Okay, and then we sort of improvise and play our way through it. But that's just genuine us being idiots. And Will
James!
It's just nothing. No, we are getting on a bit. When
You're
I say,
not,
when
though,
I say
are
we're,
you? You're not.
We should know better by now.
Vassos alluded to the fact that it's the penultimate Grand Tour, and I'm saying it isn't.
We've confirmed that it kind of probably is. I mean, look, what we decided years ago, and we'll talk about this at length later this year, because I'll be on here talking about it, I'm sure. Above all else, we wanted to land this thing at a time, in a place, and in a manner of our choosing. That was absolutely key to us, and we realised that, 15 years ago, when it first got carried away and became big. It was like, well, we didn't take off on purpose. This just happened. We set out to make a car show and it grew into something we didn't expect. So when the time comes to stop, we want to be the ones to say, stop.
Yeah.
Rather than any one of us, for instance, get us massively fired or one of us die in a crash or any other way of it ending.
Yeah, well, you've given that a go. It didn't work.
We've tried everything. We've tried to stop it in every way we can.
Can I just say something? Okay, as a fan, right? As a fan.
Go on.
I completely respect what you've just said about you wanting to be the arbiters of calling time. But please don't do it prematurely because you think it might be better that way. You have to carry on doing it for as long as it's okay to do that and is wanted, don't you?
I
please
think we'll know. Listen, we'll have a big conversation about this when when the time's right. We can have a proper conversation. And actually, we could enjoy that because we can really get into it.
Okay.
Because we're all in the media. And we're all sharing with listeners and viewers our passion and what we're doing.
Yes.
And if we get it right, we create a place, don't we, that we're all in together. We're all in it right now, listening or sitting in here. And we've all been the beneficiaries of it working. And there's no science to that.
There's a bit of science.
There's craft to how you execute it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's got to be time and place. It's got to be, that's what's required. And that's, I think if you're calculating your way to that, you're at risk of presenting people with a science project.
Okay.
You've got to be properly creative and engineer the way you deliver it. But that you're delivering, you can't necessarily target completely, or it's too scientific. And I think we were the beneficiaries of that. We were lucky. We did the right thing at the right time. But we didn't know.
One of the benefits, and I don't want to say this out loud because I don't want it to happen, but one of the benefits of there being you designating publicly or privately a finishing post is that it then makes everything you do from that point onwards even more precious. And I had a sense of watching this particular episode of the Grand Tour, and I think it was the best. I think it might be the best one I've ever seen. Do you consider your own programs like fans do? Do you think that was a good one? Or
yeah.
Well, and what did you
imagine how critical Wilman is?
Yeah,
massively
Yeah,
self-critical.
different though, different.
Yeah, we've had a good time over the last couple because, of course, COVID and everything. Don't even like mentioning it now, but we couldn't go places, so we did those almost Grand Tour unplugged ones where we couldn't have those big shots of the desert and all that beautiful stuff going on. So it fell back on us three goofing about and being childish idiots in our 50s and 60s. Whereas now we could go back out in the desert and we could get those beautiful shots and that epic cinematography going on. Allied to a reminder of, there's a bit of charm at the heart of this.
Yeah.
Because there is a bit of charm.
What did you think of this one? I thought it was great.
I think it's great. I think it was lovely to see the crew doing what they do to make those amazing images.
Other things about the show. So you go to a city, a desert town that is being eaten by the sand.
Yes.
And that is a genuine consequence of climate change.
The desert is advancing. Absolutely.
Because the Sahara's moving by...
Yeah. About 2 meters a year or something, a significant amount.
Yeah.
And so houses are disappearing into it. They're becoming in the desert, yeah.
And James was particularly taken with this town because of the library aspect of it.
Yeah, and he bored the librarian to tears. Yes, he was.
How many libraries did this town
Oh, many, because it was for a long time as a repository of a huge amount of
Wasn't it the seat of all knowledge?
Yeah, well, it's the seat of all knowledge from the... Yeah, absolutely. Tons and tons and tons of books, original manuscripts. Have you ever handled an ancient manuscript?
No.
I did years and years ago, and it was like about 800 years old. I had to have gloves on. But when you touch it and look at it, it's the nearest you'll get to shaking hands with the person who wrote it, because every pen stroke, every tiny variation in width is a result of a variation in pressure. And so it is the closest you can get to shaking hands over the decades. Beautiful things.
The most precious document I've ever held was the original pitch document for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. 4 pages of A4 stapled in the top left-hand corner. The actual 4 pieces of paper that got the show made by ITV.
So some development producer was tasked with, give us a 4-pager on that and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it went all right. Yeah. It's still going all right, apparently.
After I'd handled the almost wholly and irreplaceable ancient document, it was in the museum underground at the Vatican. Not the museum, rather. There's a repository underground.
Right.
Big door. And I'd gone in to do that, and this was for another show years ago. The crew weren't allowed to come in with me. They weren't allowed to take cameras in. And as soon as I'd stepped in, and there's this amazing document, I realised, wait a minute, I've left a TV crew outside of this massive lockable door in this secret underground treasury underneath the Vatican. I know what's going to happen. And I heard the door go, ka-dung, and then locked me inside. Thanks, guys. Before they'd shut it, I knew, it did, they locked me in.
Love it. Vassos.
I just think we need to talk about the train a bit more.
It was massive, wasn't it? It's for moving iron ore across the country.
Why was the train in it? Let's explain our obsession with the train.
Because we'd bought and modified our cars, and we needed them delivering to where we were, and there were no roads there because we were in the middle of the desert. But there was a train. It delivers iron ore. It transports it across the Sahara. And
iron ore what?
Very good. Let's just leave that.
Okay.
It's about 2.5 kilometres long. It was massive.
I know, it was ridiculous.
Standing next to it, just kept going.
And there was a single shot, it was a drone shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, imagine if you'd have got that wrong.
Well, the drone operator was sent to, just grab us a couple of shots of the train, and then so he just ran it the length of the thing, and then panned around at the end, and Willman just decided, I'm just going to drop that in.
Yeah, that's a very Willman Ridley Scott-esque thing to do.
Rather than cut away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I showed my son, I said, come and have a look at this train. And then I watched it again, and then I started watching the rest of the show, and then another member of the family, Matthew says that I should ask you to show me the train. So we go back to the train show, and it's just every time you watch it, you just can't believe that there are things that big. It's basically in the middle of nowhere.
It just goes on and on. It's a big train. Imagine a really long train. It's like that, only longer.
Much longer. No, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And it's so slick and brilliant and good, and and all the things that it is.
I love taking credit for something I have nothing to do with, because I don't. That's just.
I was just thinking, the research that must go into, how, because it's only, what did you say? It was filming permit number 58 in the history of Mauritania. So it's not somewhere that people ever go. What made the producers, whatever Andy Willman think, let's go to Mauritania?
Well, can I ask a different question?
Yeah.
Can I reframe the question? Because it's the Paris to Dakar rally route. Why until now I'd go the opposite way with the question?
It could go either way, because you're right. I mean, it's not a place people think of going. Filming permit number 58 in as many years suggests that. It's really, it is difficult finding places to go, finding new places where there is.
But this one's got to be
something
scream
different.
Paris Dakar. Come on.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. We all wanted to do that dash along the sea.
Just not the boring bit.
Yeah, exactly right. Just not the boring bit up to there. And everybody loves that kind of racing. That rally raid stuff. It's exciting.
And how do you know that there's going to be a bat cave and then the minefield and then the Eye of Africa and all of it? Well, obviously that's quite famous, but you know what I mean.
What always happens is when we've got to sort of string together something to go and make, because we can't say, hi Amazon, thanks for that big bucket of money, we'll go and spend it now and hope something fun happens. So we always have got a loose idea, and in an ideal world, most of it falls away, because most of what makes the show is the stuff that actually unfolds for real. So we kind of build some sort of a plan, and then...
Yeah, no, so you have... I was listening about this last week when I was on holiday, not skiing.
Yes, you weren't skiing.
No, you weren't. I wasn't skiing. You have a plan, but you don't have a strategy. And that's why the show's so good.
That's neat.
That's the
Yeah,
deal.
That works.
Because apparently this guy I was listening to last week when I wasn't skiing on holiday, he said lots of people confuse having a plan for having a strategy. Because plans, you can put them in place and you can report them to your board and you can get your employees to do it. And you've carried out your plans, but they're not a strategy. That's the secret to your success.
So what's it? Hang on, plan, strategy. What's the difference? A strategy. Yeah, so that's
strategy-
how to cope with, how to deal with what comes along.
No, a strategy is where you want to be, and a plan is how to get there.
You love giving people a headache in the morning. Don't you?
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, every now and again you wander into one of these rooms with
water off
Chris
a
and
duck's
realise,
back.
oh, hang on a minute, this is all too much.
But you see, if you had a strategy, it wouldn't work.
No, really. But a plan, it would. Well, but yes, also, but plans are something that you put in place and that can go wrong, and a strategy is what you deal with it with, isn't it? It's Monday morning.
I've lost
I don't
interest in
know.
my own chat.
You set it off.
Chris Vass, Rach, Sinead, loving hearing Richard on the airwaves. Massive fan of all his work. All of his work? Yes, all of his work. And can't wait for the sand job, Julie. It's out now. You don't have to wait for it.
It's there.
It's there. It's
It
done.
has dropped, to
has
use
dropped.
the phrase. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's dropped.
Hi, Chris, the team, Richard Hammond, James May, Jeremy Clarkson, legends in their own lifetimes. They have brought so much joy to us by doing what they do. Please tell Richard, never stop. See?
Well, I can't do anything else. I mean, there is that.
Well, you can.
We are one
There's your
trick
other
ponies
lovely
now.
show.
Yes.
Smallest Cog, come on, tell us.
Slowly ruining me. Yeah, I'm no better a businessman than I was.
You are?
Not really. No.
Because you don't have a strategy. That's
really,
why.
really difficult. I should read one of those books with things like strategy and planning. in.
Yeah. It's only it's a 9-minute TED Talk or whatever it is. It's brilliant. By the way, tomorrow on the show, we've got Chris Anderson, who runs TED Talks.
Really?
I know.
That's heavy duty, isn't
It's
it?
unbelievable.
Must be like massively brainy.
He's massively brainy. He's written a book about gratitude and kindliness and generosity. But he runs the whole of TED Talks.
How do you get to run the whole of TED Talks?
It's in the book because he had a different company. He was quite a digital techie kind of guy, and he worked for TED Talks. And then the guy who founded TED Talks stepped aside. He took it over, made it a non-profit, and the rest is. I mean, the story about the first 6. They put the first 6 ever TED Talks up on YouTube as an experiment, and within about a minute they had 10,000 views, and then the next day they had 100,000, and by the end of the week they had millions of views. They thought, oh, this seems like it's working.
This could catch on.
Yeah.
This could go somewhere. Yeah, fair dues.
So the last 70 miles of your show is on the beach. Why is the last 70 miles of the latest Grand Tour, the Sand Job, on the beach?
Because that's the way they used to finish. Those are the glamour shots from back in the day, the Paris-Dakar race. That's where the races would blast along the sea, and those were the epic.
Helicopter shots.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, all of
Yeah.
that. And so we wanted to recreate some of that, and we did. It was good fun.
Some of that, because there's a twist at the end, and we won't say what it is, but
yeah,
there's a genuine twist at the end.
Yeah, because we make shows in the real world. We kind of create our own world that we take with us, but that world is existing within the bigger,
I was
broader
not
world.
expecting
Neither were
what
any of
happens
us.
at the end. How, I mean, was it in real? Because we see Jeremy looking at his phone, he gets a message from Wilman, which often happens. Sometimes it's scripted, sometimes not scripted. And he says, I've got a message from Wilman. He says, check your news feed. He checks the news feed, and then you can sort of tell that this, again, is one of those shots that you've just left in. It's a wider shot. You know, it's genuinely what was happening. I'll just keep the cameras running anyway. And that's sort of how the show ends.
Yeah, it had happened that day. That was that day we realised, there's an issue.
Wow.
But fortunately, we had a plan, not a strategy.
Yay!
Or is it a strategy, not a plan? We had the right one, whichever one that is.
Well, you look very well, considering you've been up all night.
It's my wife's fault. It's Mindy's fault.
So
Right.
what happened last night?
BAFTAs, invited to by the nice people at Warner Brothers Discovery, of whom I make the workshop show. Right. And they said, would you like to come to the BAFTAs? I'll be totally honest with you. I thought it was the TV BAFTAs. I don't know. And I said, that'd be nice.
You saw Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Well, no. Then we looked at the invitation, and it was the film ones.
So thank God you knew before you arrived.
Well, I just don't pay attention. Honestly, we got halfway there, and it was very important that you turn up with the proper ticket. And I'd left the tickets back at the flat, so we had to turn around, and then we were late. Mindy was very kind about that. I did the full, when you feel your heart it fell through the floor of the taxi, and then I had to pipe up, we've got to go back and get the tickets. And it was great fun, but Mindy is the worst possible influence. I'm a professional. I would have. I'm
a professional.
I would have watched the awards, maybe had a bite to eat with the TV execs afterwards. Yeah. Very nice chat, and then called it a day. But there was an after show party.
She's still out, isn't she?
Pretty much. So Mindy decided, let's go to that. So we did. Yeah, it's great fun.
Shinny, you're not a car person. but you enjoyed the Grand Tour episode, the sand job, and you understood a bit of it.
No, there was. I would say about sort of 35% could have been in Japanese, for all I understood.
Excellent.
But there's bits.
Some of it was in French.
Well, I would have understood that bit a bit more. Just the car stuff, I didn't. But that doesn't take away from it. But it is. I would like to know, like, what was the scariest moment of doing it? Because I think, like, people who are used to watching it are probably just like, oh yeah, they're always doing this. I was like, when you've got the car on the crane thing going.
And that wasn't scary because I wasn't going to be hurt. Jeremy was. I'm interested in. So you're not into cars at all.
No.
But you can stand to watch the show.
Yeah, because I really like you three. Like, and I mean, I used to watch a bit of Top Gear, but just for like the bants. But then, it just sort of like when you're talking about cars, I'm like, okay, whatever.
But I think if people are really into something, it's compelling enough to keep you watching. It's a bit like I'll watch that show about throwing pots. I don't care about pottery remotely.
No, but if you've got good people,
people are really into it. There's that lovely man who cries if somebody throws a really nice teacup or whatever. No, I wouldn't. But the fact that somebody does and is that into it, that draws me in. I'll watch that.
No, but it's a fun thing to watch because, like, I like watching you where all you're going. I like the little, funny bits, the challenges you come across. But again, scary.
Yeah, 3 middle-aged idiots, really.
But did you get scared?
I can't dress it up. On that one, I don't think I was particularly scared.
Wow.
I was never in imminent danger. Oh, no, we did. Crossing the river in the water. That was very nice. I didn't
That
like
looked quite
we
scary.
Yes. We all had to go and.
You can tell by the tone of voices. There was one point when it started to go over, and James says something in a tone of voice. You think, oh, that's real.
Yeah, we had to go and be tested for this. I can't remember the name of the
something issis.
Zoonosis. The little bugs that go in and then come. I didn't want that.
Oh.
Yeah, they lay eggs in your liver.
Yeah, I had to go to Birmingham to a tropical disease clinic. Yeah. It's exotic, isn't it?
You got the all clear, I hope?
No, I'm absolutely riddled with it. At any moment,
He's just coming here to shed.
Well, exactly right. Unfortunately, so you should have left the doors open. But hey.
Right, the Grand Tour Sand Job available now on Prime Video. Hopefully the first of a good few more to come, but who knows? Work in progress. News to come one way or another.